All right, hello world. How you guys doing today? All right, excuse my messed up hair. Hey, it's all good. We're gonna do some digital illustration. Basically, gonna run through a number of examples of digital illustration, and really, where would you start as a beginner? And again, this is all coming from personal experience. So, welcome, Tracy. All right, fantastic. We're going to get this started, guys. Again, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Let me just grab. All right, just left my little Apple Pencil across the way. So essentially, I'm going to sort of demystify digital illustration, right? So that's the goal. Clint, does that sound good? Trung, John, Javid, good to see you guys. This is going to be an Illustrator. Main in the house, good to see. I'm going to dive into, I'm really just going to demystify all the different ways to draw essentially digitally. So there's a number of things you can do. You could capture content, right, that you've drawn sort of lo-fi on pencil, using pencil, and you can capture that with Adobe Capture, right? And then you can draw on tablets or on Wacoms with these fancy things, right? Or you can even just use your mouse. So I kind of want to go through this whole thing. The different ways of doing this, because I feel like I've spent a lot of money on figuring all of this out. So that's my goal today. From Denver, Colorado, so where I'm kind of reporting from. Yes, there's snow outside. I saw somebody. Yes, Woodnitty is from Denver also, so there's snow on the ground. And lucky you in Austin, because it's probably not that way. So, yes, Travis, good time, buddy. Yeah, if you guys want me to talk about Little Illustrator, I could definitely jump into this. That's the whole idea. It's like I have an agenda on what I want to do, but I also want to make sure it's appropriate for you guys, because that's what live is all about, right? Making things live. So I'm just actually opening up an Illustrator file right now. All right, so many ports, and I'm connecting my iPad too because I want to show you that. So I'm going to share my screen if that is cool with you guys. Live from Ghana in the house. Good to see ya. Pakistan as well. Super fun seeing where everybody is from. And let me just go ahead and looks like I might need to change my I think I moved my camera a little bit. Zoop. All better. For the most part, right? Angle it a little more. Okay, fantastic. Plugging in my iPad as well, because that's one way of illustrating, so I want to show you that. I'm actually in Illustrator, and this is typically where you'd start out, guys, right? So you're in Illustrator. Let's just make my big head a lot smaller. And I can go to work, right? So you can see, I can jump in, draw, of course, with vectors, as we can see, just using the pen tool. And this is like what 90% of people do these days, right? Is you'll actually sort of draw something out, as you can see here. So not particularly impressed, It's not bad, right? I can start to play with the lines and the strokes. Probably my favorite thing. Again, I'm just going to select this. I'm going to increase the stroke size. Okay, so this is technically digital illustration just with using the pen tool, right? So this doesn't look natural at all. And that's the big thing when it comes to digital illustration. It's like, I want something to look natural, right? I love the control that Illustrator gives me, allowing me to manipulate these different points as I would appropriately, right? But this is obviously a very uniform look, okay? What if I want to add more character to it? Well, again, I can select that path. I can change the uniformness to be like this right up here. Zoop. You can see right there, okay, I just made the variable width profile thick and thin. Thin, thick, and then thin, right? But I can go beyond that because I can also use the width tool off to the side. So again, if I'm drawing digitally, I can go in here, and just so you guys can see it, I'm adjusting the size of this using the width tool. So we can expand that out. You can see how it's changed that. And I can add as many of these as I want, right? So again, this is not that natural, right? Minneapolis in the building. Good to see you. Namaste from India. Oh, Gagan, good to have you. iPad Pro does not work on Windows. So iPad Pro is strictly for the iPad using iOS, right? To answer your question there. Okay. So, but this doesn't feel very natural, right? It's like I'm trying to draw, and this is like, if I'm trying to draw a face or something, this gets very difficult, as we know. Okay. So what do? You might grab the pencil. Okay. So let me show you. Grabbing the pencil tool, which is actually hidden behind the shaper tool, but selecting that pencil tool, and typically when you're drawing something, and let's just kind of, maybe we have a person, and I'll kind of like draw, like I'm going to try to draw a person's face, right? So let's just go, kind of something like that. You know, you'll be like sketching something out. Look at how horrible I am at drawing, right? That's what the pencil can seem to do, but let's just delete this, because this is the way you're used to the pencil working. If I double click on the pencil, I get the pencil tool options. Okay, so you could double click on a lot of these tools, and you can see right in here, it's going to be the ability for me to take this from accurate to smooth. Okay, so that's what I want to do. Smooth it out, clicking OK. Now let's draw that same face, right? Again, just using my mouse, right? Looks like I did something crummy. Oh, guess what? It smooths it out. Okay, so these are the results that I want to see. All right. In essence, again, just double click on that tool. It'll give you the options for that tool. Next thing you know, you're pretty good, right? I like this, but check this out, guys. Look at what I have, by the way. I'm super excited about this, by the way. Hello, Paris in the house. Good to see you. Clint, what's up? Davenport, never been there. Midwest, best people in the world, I swear. As I offend everybody else in the world by saying that. But let me even point this to you guys, because I just recently got a Wacom tablet, which happens to be my favorite thing, right? Because drawing with the mouse might not necessarily give me the results I want. So and I'm going to post this link just so you guys know. But shout out to Wacom. This is the here we go. This is what I'm going to show you. Again, I'm just going to paste this into the chat. So the Wacom tablet in the house. So this is what I'm drawing with now. Love people from Minneapolis. What's up, everybody? Good to see you guys. All right, let's dive into this, because this is what I'm using now, by the way. So let me kind of adjust this. You guys might be familiar with this device anyways. The green screen's going to go away as I kind of manually come over here with the pencil. You can see I can do. Right? You guys get the idea. Right? So I have that natural feel to this, and I can also use the brush, right? So let's dive into the brush. Let's increase the stroke size. See how it's making it smooth? Makes it super easy to work with. Sorry if my camera was really super jittery. That's what I'm trying to not do, but I'm just trying to show you again how you can create, right? Easy enough. I want to show you what you could do also in Photoshop. So again, somebody mentioned Illustrator, which is why I started in Illustrator. I have control over all those paths. Let's dive into Photoshop, because we do have brushes, by the way. And this is what I love about this. Maybe actually, I said I was gonna, I said I was gonna move on to Photoshop, but I want to kind of touch upon why Illustrator is powerful when it comes to digital illustration, is the fact that I have control over my paths, right, and all of these strokes, because I could change them at any point in time. So go down into brushes, right, for instance, say, hey, you know what, I decided I want it to look rough, I'm just selecting charcoal feather. Changes the entire look of this. I didn't have to redraw it at all, right? And now I have something more interesting, as you can see. If you guys have any questions, guys, let me know. Mohammed, what's up, buddy? Oh, Bethlehem is in the house. You have to watch this sometimes in the next day because it's super late. Same thing for Denmark. Tangier. Love Tangier. Mohammed, awesome. I love it, right? So this is what we have. We can go beyond this, by the way. I can show you how to create brushes, and that gets a little, since this is titled for beginners, I don't want to get into creating brushes. It gets kind of tricky, but I can create my own brush that is different types. Calligraphic, scatter brush, art brush, bristle brush, pattern brush. Pattern brush is probably the one that I'm most interested in. Also, art brush is super awesome. But, you know, sort of like taking a graphic and making it repeat. I'll have to talk about that later, but you can make your own brushes. Since this is for beginners, we can go beyond that because there's entire brush libraries that you can work with as well. Let me try to see if I can zoom this. There we go. Cool. Zoom this down. There we go. Brush libraries. Okay, go to the Flatout menu. They're all in here. So you have all of these. There's 60 art pen brushes that I could use with my Wacom. So selecting that will open up. It's actually on my other screen. So let's bring this over. Here's the 60 art pen brushes right in here that I can use as well. Okay, so as I selected it, you can see it changes everywhere. I don't need to redraw anything, and that's why I love Illustrator. Cool. Do I recommend the Wacom or the iPad Pro? I personally recommend the Wacom, right? Because I'm working directly in Photoshop and or Illustrator, and I have all of those capabilities ready for me. And if you can afford it, that would be great. I'm gonna hook up my iPad just to kind of show you. Between iPad Pencil and the Wacom, they both work the same way. They're both about the fidelity and imitating natural brushes and pencils and things. So that's what it's all about, and that's key. So let me just plug this in. Wait for it. Try not to disconnect anything else. There we go. Because again, I want to go over digital. This is digital illustration again for beginners, right? Sort of starting out with just, drawing with a pen tool in Illustrator. Give me 1 second. Zoop. Oh, sorry, it's still trying to. Let's try this one more time. It's trying to connect to my iPad. There we go. Okay, fantastic. Here we are. Cool. All right, so we're talking about digital tools for illustration. Okay, so let's talk about this, by the way. What up, Cedric? Good to see ya. So again, drawing with the mouse is what I was doing, right? Using my Wacom tablet. Somebody mentioned also drawing on iPad. So here I have my iPad, and you can see obviously let me move this over. You can see my screen right here. Here's RobZilla right here, by the way, which is cool. So there's a number of apps that we could use, by the way. And when it comes to Adobe apps, you can see them all here. What are the important ones? We have Adobe Sketch and Adobe Draw, which are in the upper right, okay? Both of them work fantastic. One's more of an Illustrator connection. The other is more of a Photoshop connection. So I've launched Illustrator Draw, and you can kind of see what I'm doing here with some of these projects. I guess I don't have anything too crazy right in here. You know, sort of whether you're sort of drawing over a photo, you get that sort of look. But let's even start with a new one, by the way. Going back to projects, launching this, all the brushes that I'd expect. Right? And I have this nice flow going. What I like about this is a touch device. This has palm rejection, and I can go in and I can start to create what I want. So oops, I said palm rejection, and that mark was just made with my palm. So again, kind of coming in here, let's just kind of draw a face. Again, let's not be afraid to make mistakes, right? So making sure all of those points are just fine. Well, the lower lip, The eye will be right about here. We can get the hairline right in there. And you can start to see this stroke. Okay, so let's just do the hair, right? So look at how the stroke kind of even animates. As I press harder, it gets thicker. And that pressure sensitivity is what you want as a digital illustrator, right? Again, nothing fancy here. I want to point out my buddy RobZilla. I don't know if he's actually watching today or not, but these are some of his works, by the way. So again, diving in, this is the look that you can get when it comes down to, using Illustrator Draw, okay? So again, I can pinch and zoom in. I can undo, but just by swiping backward as I start to, make some of those strokes disappear. But I have that sort of flexibility when it comes to drawing, okay? All my layers are as expected. And you can see as I make some funny lines on this, right? Cool. Is this iPad Pro? I'm trying to read that comment. Yeah, this is just the standard iPad Pro, sort of like first edition, if you will. I know there's different sizes. What's the best approach for drawing? Should I start with real paper, make the sketch, then scan it and import it into Illustrator, then outline it? Or should I make the sketch in Illustrator directly? Mohammed, great questions. Love it. Because let's think about that process. You might be drawing more naturally if you're drawing on paper, but you have to go through that step of going from paper to digital, which means outlining it or retracing it. Yeah, Rob, do you see your work, buddy? I swear I told everybody that I did not draw this. I told them RobZilla did, right? I swear to you. But since I was talking about Illustrator Draw, I wanted to give you a holler. Thank you so much, Cedric, for pointing that out. So you want to draw most naturally. So most naturally might be literally pencil on paper, but you can see how this is so smooth as I draw these funny lines, right? Even as I kind of dive in here, if I want to add to it, I have the ability to just undo that really fast or change the color. So the flexibility, obviously, you have with digital is huge, right? Whether you want to get used to an iPad Pro, and those apps or draw on a Wacom, it's totally up to you. Let's go into Sketch, by the way. Let's close this out, by the way, right? So you have, so again, just like a number of things you could do, right? So you can get that natural sketching look, as you can see right in here. Okay, let's excuse some of these really bad ones, but let's just start a new iPad Pro landscape. So watch the difference in line stroke here, right? So again, you can see that actually looks like an actual pencil. So let's just like kind of come in here. That broad brush stroke means I have it slanted, and come in here and again, just kind of work on this face. I'm tilting this down and just doing these broad brush strokes. Let's make sure we get that back of that head like that. Okay, so this, see how natural this feels? Again, this is these technologies. This layer, so I can add that sketch layer, different options you have for brush. Outline the face. As I press, but you can see how yes, I could sync these, send this. So sorry about that. It might be buffering a little bit. Apologies there. Kind of just depends on the bandwidth. So I apologize for that. Tracy, this is being recorded. So even though you might not be witnessing it live, this is actually being recorded. Okay. Let's dive into this. Again, hopefully you guys are okay. You guys good now? Seems like everybody's doing better. Okay. All right. You ready for this? I'm going to dive into Photoshop, right? So again, you can still draw naturally. You can see kind of what's going on here, right? This sort of real world. See, look at how nice this looks. This is what I was working on last night too, just for fun, right? It's kind of a mix of Photoshop work and then line drawings that I'm kind of playing with. So it's still like a work in progress that we'll have to pick apart, right? But what do we do here? So we could still use that same technique. We'll define our brush, right? So we'll grab our brush tool right here, okay? We'll pick the color that we want, and then we'll pick the brush. Check this out. I can pick a number of these, by the way. So I'm going to take this initial round point stiff, okay? And let's just open up my brush properties right over here. You could see my brush off to the side on the left side. This is actually going to show me what it looks like. Now, as I tilt this, and let me just grab my camera and point it down, sort of as I tilt my brush, you can see it start to change. Okay, so as I draw, you can start to see how that looks. It actually mimics. Let's go straight on, by the way. Straight on, you can see how it obviously works like an actual brush. I absolutely love this. I also love hitting undo, which you can't do in the real world. Okay. Let's go beyond this, by the way. I want to actually draw something more reasonable and just something that's actually looks good is my whole goal. But I do want to show you also these pencils. So let's grab this pencil right here. Happens to be the charcoal pencil. So check this out. Hitting enter. As I adjust it, I'm going to go maybe straight down. Right? Look, as I draw, by the way, or, you know, start to create anything, you can see the nib actually wears down like a real pencil as well. Right? So again, this is exactly how I'd expect it to work when I'm dealing with the real world. I turn it to the side. I'm able to do that shading and help us all. I need to create something more interesting, and I'm going to right now, okay? I gotta redeem myself. Okay, so again, what am I working on? I'm working on a Wacom Cintiq 13-inch. It's the HD graphic pen tablet, as it's known. Let's clear this out. And move on. So this is typically how I'd potentially work. It's like going into libraries, I would search for I, okay? And this would be my source file right in here. So I can grab this source file, I could drop it in, say, hey, you know what, I want to draw this particular file. You could do this a number of ways. And let's talk about this, by the way, Brooke. Are there two brush? Why are there two brush images? So here's this eye. So I could actually use this as a reference that's off to the side, as you can see, and start to draw from it, or I could actually trace over it, right? We could talk all day long about which one you think is a good idea. Okay, so I'll just use these standard brushes. I'll use the standard pencil, why not? Using the Wacom right in here, I can start to sort of mimic or draw out that specific eye, right? We can see what we're doing right now pretty easily. Undo. You guys get it? Getting the basic shape of the eye. Let's add a new layer. Pop. Right, and we can start to like refine this a little more if we want to. Okay, so we can either go larger or smaller. I'm hitting the open bracket and I can make this smaller. I can also use the keys on the side of this Wacom to zoom in and out. All right. Oh, there's a streaming problem that's seeing a double brush. How interesting. Let me check. Sorry about that if that's the case. All right, so you guys get the idea. So coming in here, let's just kind of zoom in a little closer. Again, just using those keys. I have a keyboard right underneath where I'm working. And I can start to work on this a little more closely, right? So let's just kind of come in here. Using my shortcut keys. I want to stay true to this illustration, by the way, to the picture. And you guys get the idea. The idea is for me to not show off with illustrating. The idea is to show you the different tools for working, right? Using the open curly brace. I'm just going to I could color this in. I know it looks very sloppy. Don't worry. I'm going to fix this in a second. Because that's just a separate layer that I could take down in opacity as I make that look a little more gray. Okay. Not impressed. That's why I switch over to this version so you can see what it looks like much more easily. Oops, as it scrolls away. Let me show you something else, guys. Really cool. So what do we want to do? Hand lettering. This is what I'm going to dive into right now. This is a cool technique that I want to show you. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to jump into pictures that I have. All right. Yeah, man, Mike Turner, you can, if you're using Photoshop CC and you have a Wacom Intuos, you can do the brush tilts and size thing, right? That's what you want to do. Again, just with my brush selected, you can see as I tilt this brush, you'll see it change. So again, you can see it change and rotate based on me rotating the pen right here, right? Easy enough. I'm going to try to do this while holding my webcam. But what I'm going to do now is, yeah, I can draw over this all day long, right? Looks pretty cool. I'm going to show you just like a cool technique that I learned from my friend Luke Choice. Because I have these brushes, by the way. All of these brushes right here, as I select the brush, all of these brushes are available right in here, right? Those are Kyle Webster's brushes. These are the built-in brushes that I can see. A lot of these splat brushes I have actually gotten online. I have these other brushes that have additional capabilities as well. So if I show you this brush, by the way, this is actually just a flower brush. So if I click once, you can see what that flower looks like, even though it's kind of hard to tell. But this is what I want to get into. It's like, yes, we have all these brushes that we can use. We could use brushes for these other tools. So I'm going to dive into using the smudge tool. Okay, so I'm going to use this smudge tool. I'm going to increase the brush size. Right, I'm going to sample all layers. Right, and it's going to sample from that layer below. So now I can do something. That takes a little while to change. Let's actually change this. I'm going to change this to a harder brush. Hardness is cranked all the way up. And let me do one more thing, guys. There we go. All right, and I'm back. Let me dive into this. Trying to hold my webcam at the same time. Last one. All right. So yeah, anyways, you guys saw me work. You guys get the idea. That took some concentration. That was hard. Right, so again, using the smudge brush, I was able to sample from the colors below it because I was sampling all layers, and I just wrote out some fun words. Why not? You guys get the idea. Cool. So there we are. Dope. The cool thing about brushes, again, and just being able to draw digitally with a tablet is I get that variation in line stroke, okay? So if I dive into this once more, just on a new layer, selecting a brush, let's grab... I'll even go into these presets. We're going to use the dirty smudge. Let's just try this. Why not? Yeah, not so much. Switching brushes, guys. Let's grab this round. Shrink this down, sample all layers. Yeah. You guys get the idea. Why do I use Photoshop? Yeah. All right, guys. Isuru, looks like you're answering a question. Why use Photoshop? Yeah, if you're doing digital illustration, you can use Photoshop. You can use Illustrator. I was showing that earlier, by the way. Again, this is just what I did with just really a mouse. But the same rules apply. So I can pick a paintbrush. Let's crank up the size. Right? Using still my Wacom Intuos. Hello. Let's take that down a lot. And let's switch this brush to something else. Now, after you've drawn a letter, if you have that still selected, you could draw right over it and it will change it. Okay, see how I'm drawing over it? And it'll actually change that stroke. As long as it's selected, you could draw over it and it's changing that particular line. Okay, for that matter, if I select any one of these, I decide I want to draw the D again. I can redraw that letter. Cool. All right, so we could do something more interesting. Let me actually just show you a couple things that are actually a little more interesting, if that's what you want. Again, I just got on this hand lettering kick, as you can see. This is actually done with a brush, and this is made in Photoshop. So Spun, when will the smudge tool react quicker? Yeah, so what you need to do there is you need to just basically decrease the size of your document. I want it to be faster too, but it's probably because you have a larger document. And so that's one of the shortcomings of it, is the simple fact that, again, it goes kind of slow if it's a larger file. Cool. Here we go. I opened up this final file, by the way. So you can see this is just made up of individual strokes, as you can see here. Right, I can move that around. It looks 3D because I actually added a little bit of overlay, as you can see off to the side. An overlay layer where I painted with white and black, and that brings out the certain parts, as you can see. All right. Yeah, better pick does make a big difference, right? So again, here's another one. Since you kind of wanted to see, this is actually where I talked about making vector portraits. You can see Gandhi right here, okay? So hopefully this makes sense, but the fact that this is, of course, all digital and using paths, I can change these at any time that I want. Okay, I can even add more to it if I want to, again, the same way. Jumping in, you know, adding those strokes if I want to, decreasing the size as well. All right. Or even, yeah, again, sort of like personal illustration, as you can see here. Still drawn, but the fact that this is in Illustrator, I can still manipulate, of course, all of these little points and adjust accordingly. Cool. So hopefully that helps. Since somebody wanted to see some more interesting illustrations, you have them here. Okay, Chase, you want to see if you can use the 3D tutorial you had a few days ago on your hand lettering for that effect. 3D tutorial? No. Like, possibly, but it's going to take more time. Because this looks 3D, but it's not 3D. I could actually, if I wanted to, I could take a vector, I could draw out a letter, I can bring it into Photoshop, I can extrude it, and I can curve the bevel to make it look like this. So that can be done, it just takes a lot of work, right? All right. Ooh, Design Art Studio is about 8.5 inches, $160 on Amazon. Cool. All right, cool. So yes, this could be done in 3D. You can't get all these thick and thin strokes with using a mouse. You're gonna need something like this, like a tablet, like guys are mentioning. Right? A lot of this stuff, it actually could still be done with the mouse. Because what is this? This is just pushing and pulling. And in fact, if we take a look at the original, you could see here's the original. And what does this take? It just takes jumping in, maybe using the pencil, right? And starting to sort of like outline the face. Okay, here's where I could actually use the mouse. Let's get the basic shape of the head. Just like that. Cool. All right, guys. I think I guess some notes for me is to probably also make sure I have some hand-baked final versions ready for you, because this one doesn't look that good, but compared to some of these others, you can obviously see what you can do. My biggest takeaway lately is the fact that I can actually, that I've recently actually purchased a Wacom, and it's totally like helped me out in terms of my illustration work, as you can see right in here, right? So again, this is actually done in Photoshop with Kyle T. Webster's brushes. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with his brushes. As I select the brush tool, these are all of them. These are all Kyle Webster's brushes. So a shout out to Kyle. Anything that I'd want is in here. If I want oil brushes to inkers, right? So ink pens, graphite, you guys get the idea. Okay. The problem is it's hard to sort of like log these or categorize these in a reasonable way, right? Because there's a lot going on here. I think for the background, I was using maybe using an oil dry, but I was also using the 2B pencil for creating most of this. All right, guys, but I've actually been going for about 40 minutes. And I'm going to continue to work on this outside of the stream. But I'm actually just kind of refining this with the 2B pencil. And what I could do is I could actually use the pen tool. But I kind of like the look of this. Actually just thickening up the lines. But here's the brush. As you can see. All right, guys. Yeah, these brushes do rock. So enjoy these, guys. He does give away some for free. It's on Kyle T. Webster's site. Oh, good. Oh, yeah, by the way, big shout out, and I should have done this earlier. RG3 RobZilla, by the way, has, as I open this up, should be live now. It actually wasn't a second ago, but it should be posted now. He has a video out. In fact, we interviewed Rob, and it's cool that it should be available now. So, Rob Generate the Third, RobZilla on YouTube. This interview that we did with him that is going live today. So just kind of waiting for that to go live. Rob, I don't know if you have the link for it, buddy. All right. So look for that on the same channel because it actually should be appearing on this channel. The link I have actually is not working. So Rob, can you send that to me and I'll post it? But I'd love to actually share that with the world. It's basically make an interview with RobZilla, who does illustration on Adobe Draw. Sorry, I almost said Adobe Ideas. And he can show you how he works there. Thank you, buddy. Boom. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for sending that through. The link they sent me was not live, but you can easily see that you can check out his interview with myself and Brooke, and it was fantastic having him out because essentially we gave him a task to draw something, and he did it while we were interviewing him. So mad props to that guy, Rob. You are the man. I really appreciate you and all that you do. But I'm going to let you guys go because it's been 45 minutes. And I need to kind of sign off now and finish this illustration. Is there a setting which controls the lag between digital and hand? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Typically, it has to do with the sort of resolution of your file and the speed of your computer. So up the speed of your computer, decrease the size of the file. That will help out. That's all I got for you right there. So otherwise, I don't know specifically. So. All right, so Ivan, to answer your question, Kyle T. Webster's brushes are available for Adobe Photoshop Sketch, so you could actually sync those to Sketch and they'll be available. I was showing that earlier. I was kind of all over the map with technologies, but I kind of wanted to show you the different ways to work. And now you guys know. You guys got it. Rob, thanks so much, buddy. Thank you for sending me that link. I'm going to post it right now as well. Rob interview. He is the man. Good buddy. Awesome. So check his out. Digital illustration with RobZilla. We'll show you how it's done much better than I can and most people. So thank you, Ivan, Steven, Nora, Mike, and everybody out there. I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining me today. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Be kind to one another, huh? Please. That's the least we can ask of you. So thank you so much, everybody. I am signing off now and have a wonderful weekend. Thanks, guys.